and we can get started. So I normally like to share a little bit about myself as well, because who is rich, who, why listen to me, right? Um, and I love to start with just my little bit about my past, and that, when I was younger, I actually dreamed of being a soccer player, right? That was my dream, and I was actually really good at it. I started playing soccer when I was 5 years old, and my family was just a line of soccer players, right? And my dad, my uncles, they all played, either professionally or semi-professionally. And so it was, for me, I was on this track, right? Got it to high school, made the varsity team as a 15-year-old, one of the only youngest, players to make it to the varsity team for high school. And then some point along the way, I had this feeling of just being an imposter, right? And being around these older athletes, I didn't play at the same level that I normally did know how to play. And I share this story because I think some of us, when we're going into product management or we're going something new, we tend to have this, you develop this skill, you develop this confidence, and then when you're in it, maybe you're trying to get into it, you feel like you have hit a wall, and your level of confidence is shut down because of either failure or because you're not getting those results, or you feel like you look around yourself and you're like, man, everyone else here is so much more advanced and better, right? And I think that for me, though, I've been able to overcome that. And especially when I got to college, kind of flipping the switch to say, you know what, I lost my dream of being a soccer player to this mindset thing. I'm never going to let that happen again. And so it was in college where I really, started to figure out who I was and realize that, for me, technology and leading organizations, I was a student leader at my college, was something that I absolutely loved, right? I went in to study computer engineering. And then, when it came time to look for a job, I wanted to find a company that aligned with my values. I'm gonna talk about values a little bit too, right? Because finding a company, finding a fit that aligns with your values is so important. And, it's good to develop this early on, because when you're, I've heard a lot of stories of people trying to find where they want to go, and they just get a job and they're not happy, but it's in the field that they want to be in, right? I think we should aspire to try to find both, right? Be in a place where we love and also do something that we love. And, when I got to Johnson and Johnson, it was a great company. I value the same values, but I wasn't loving IT, right? And for me, I didn't know how to find this love, right? But it was this little creative lab team. There was a digital agency at J&J who, like I said, was building apps. They were building websites for, consumer brands like Listerine, because we have Johnson & Johnson's a family of companies. So they were doing these for the companies within the company. And I just fell in love. I absolutely just wanted to surround myself all the time with those people. And that's what I did, right? I ended up, working with them, but just doing projects. Like I applied to a couple of these roles, and I never got them because I had this IT stigma, right? Oh, you're in IT, you only know servers and databases. You don't know product management. You don't know any of that stuff. But I was able to push through, and because of the connections that I made and this desire that I had, I was able to, identify a way in, right? And so my way in was actually taking these projects and informing some sort of story or narrative about how I was qualified to do a product manager role, right? And from that ended up getting my first product manager, experience, right? So what I want to share now is actually, a little bit of the specific tactics that I used to break in. And then once I got in, how did I accelerate? What did I do, right? Because I think, this is for you, Andres, right? Like, how do you get in, or once you're in, how do you show everyone that you got this, you can do this, and you can continually grow? So let me share a screen. And the story continues. I'm gonna share a little bit about my Disney as well, my Disney background, and other experience as well. So I have it here. Let me find it. Okay, cool. So the first thing, and I kind of alluded to this originally, right, was this idea that, you know, before you're going to do anything, I think it's always a very, very smart idea to come up with, or to develop some sort of self-discovery period where you are understanding and knowing yourself really, really well, right? To the point where you know your story, you know your the various moments in your life that have been very important to you. You develop really good habits, right, that are specific to both, you know, product development or even just life in general, and just knowing your skills. And the reason why this is really important for product management is because product managers are those people who are able to um sorry, I just saw someone join us. He's gonna be joining soon. Okay, cool. Product managers are people um, who are so strong on the vision that they want to achieve, and they're able to communicate that to many people, right? So one of the recommendations that I've put together, and this is like a little template, I'll send it to you guys, is coming up with this story inventory. And this can be a story inventory for your own personal life. It can be a story inventory of just like, you know, your experiences working in product management, or just in general, coming up with some sort of inventory that you've actually taken the time to write down will help you to formulate and better articulate your thoughts and your stories. Because I truly believe that it's the stories that make a great product manager, right? It's the stories that make you a great communicator. And when you're in product management, your job is to connect, and it's to take the, you know, the feelings, that the pain that these users that you're trying to serve, you're trying to transmute that, you're trying to give that to other people. And how do you do that? Well, by being a really good storyteller and understanding story. So this is a good exercise I recommend that you just go through, and it gives you a sense of clarity of who you are, and an ability to embrace yourself as well. So you can see here, I've kind of broken this down for myself into various sections of my years and working. And again, this helps you to develop clarity, and it takes time, right? Because, you know, I'm not going to say that I did this in like, you know, 30 minutes or something, but being able to identify the story inventory, so crucial when you're, let's say, meeting new people, or you're trying to connect, right? If you notice, when I met you, or when you guys share a little bit about yourself, I try to instantly connect with you with something about my own self, right? And that helps to establish connections, and it helps to establish trust and credibility. And that's one of the things that in product management is really, really important, right? So that's the story inventory. Another great suggestion that I have for you is just taking assessments. I absolutely love taking assessments every so often to see and understand who I am, where I am at this present moment. And I highly recommend you guys do the same, right? So here are some of my favorites that, again, aren't necessarily product. And this first phase that I'm trying to share with you isn't necessarily just a product specific, you know, step, but I think it's a really important one, because aspects of your life will just carry over into work, right? And if you know yourself in your life, if you develop healthy habits, you are going to develop those same healthy habits in work and in product management, right? So, you know, knowing the type of fear archetype, you know, your fear archetypes, what gets you into flow, what type of flow state do you, you know, really thrive in. All of these have just been a collection. I'm going to continue to add to this, help you to understand where you are. And if you're trying to interview, or you're trying to, you know, meet some people, right, this is actually a good tactic to have and to know in the back of your mind when someone asks you that question, especially if an interview, you know, like, what are your skills? You know, when they start asking you, you can tell them like, well, I'm a strong communicator. I'm a, in some of these, like the personality assessments, you can even show them, I'm a, you know, this type of personality. And that way they actually can use that as well to identify how you could fit in the organization, right? So at InStride and at a couple of the companies that I've worked at, we actually, as a company, we do these personal assessments, right? We understand our strengths, or, these different things. And it helps to actually identify, for a team, where you may be weak in, right? As a team, like, you may have a lot of these talented people in terms of, this type of personality or this, but you need more analytical people, right? And being able to know who you are is also going to help them to say, oh yeah, I'm very analytical, and that may be able to help to fill that hole that they need easier, right? So assessments. Another thing I would say is just being able to outline your goals and your future state of where you want to be, right? Yes, you guys are here, you guys want to be in product management, but why? What's the purpose? Where do you want to be in the next 5-10 years? And I know that's kind of crazy to think, like, oh, I don't even know, like, but at the same time, I believe that making these small decisions is all towards some ultimate end, goal. And if you've taken the time to think about it, where you want to be, these small decisions start to make more sense, right? And for myself, I've developed a lot of clarity by having this, like, life goal, and like reading this life vision for myself over and over every day as part of my routine now, where I know this is where I want to be. I've designed this, right? If I said I look into the future and I ask myself, who do I want to be in 10 years? Like, what if complete white canvas, no limiting beliefs, right? Where do I want to be? This is it, right? I've taken the time to think about that. And now when I do certain decisions, or when I make certain, steps towards getting that, I know that there's a purpose for everything that I'm doing, right? So you can see here a little bit about myself. Like, I want to be a serial entrepreneur, and actually having written this down and, doing this, I've actually been able to, develop and found a couple companies now, right? I told myself I wanted to be a thought leader, right? And I've been fortunate enough to be able to speak and give talks at product school, and I'm actually going to be speaking at a conference, a virtual conference, in a couple weeks. It's called I think it's Product Led. If you guys want to check it out, it's going to be I think it's Product Led conference, but it's basically going to be another talk, right? And nope, I don't think it's this one. I'll send you the link after. But it basically, yeah, I was able to, land an opportunity to speak at that, right? So again, developing this life vision for yourself really helps to clarify, even the people you want to surround yourself with, right? Who are for you, Andres, right? You're trying to get into, where do you want to be, in the next 5-10 years? Who do you need to surround yourself to really grow in those areas, right? This is for anyone, really. But again, very, very important first step, I believe, towards anything, not just product management, but just in general. It's always a strong first step is to do this. And then in terms of just, self-discovery with product, I write here appreciation and also habits. When I was starting off, I remember that, I just had a deep appreciation for products, right? In order to be a great product manager, I believe you just have to always be looking at products, using products, asking questions about those products, right? And one of the ways that I do that is with Product Hunt, which maybe some of you guys know, right? But this is part of my daily routine. I wake up, I do my morning routine, my workouts and my meditation, all that stuff. But then I leave a little time in there just to, kind of like reading the news, check out what is out there now that's new that I haven't seen in terms of new products, right? And then I'll check them out. I'll actually either use it And then I'll also, sometimes even, ask a couple questions, right? A couple questions that I always ask in terms of product management, which is, who are the intended users? What is the problem this is trying to solve? What is the potential market size? Do I fit in this category? And kind of like, again, product management is all about like the questions that you ask. And so with more products that you see and the ones that you actually love and you use, take the time to appreciate it, right? I actually, if you look at my phone, anytime, even if I'm not on product hunt and I'm just using a product and I find myself really enjoying the onboard experience or something about the experience, I take screenshots. And it's a way for me to remember, to go back. And it's also a great way to just appreciate that moment of that product, right? Because product management is, I think of it as an art. It's a beautiful, beautiful, ability to take nothing and create something and work with a team of people to do that, right? You're working with developers and designers and marketing and all these different people, and you're bringing them all together and you're developing something to create, taking nothing and creating something. So I absolutely love that. And maybe having that, for you guys, having that perspective of appreciation and developing these habits will help you to become stronger, or develop stronger muscles really in product management. Cool. Awesome. All right. So next, I like to switch it over to just like getting in the door. And this, for you, Andres, this may not be as applicable, but just bear with us here. Getting in the door. So when I was at J&J, I mentioned that it was really hard for me to get in because even back then, when there were still not that many product management roles, I had this background of IT. And so what I had to do is I had to come up with a way to showcase, number one, that I could do the job, right? And number two, I had to show them that regardless of my IT background, I was going to, I need to convince them, right? I need to tell my story. So I actually ended up creating, I kid you not, in a way, this story inventory, it has just a text version of this. But for my actual interview, I created some sort of visual to just showcase the fact that I had both technology and design experience, right? And that was one way of just giving a talking point, right? Another really great way to just even get in the door. I always try to recommend to people, go for the referral, not the application. And I say that because there's a higher chance that you can get into a job because of a referral versus just applying everywhere. And you're probably wondering, like, well, how do I even get a referral? Like, I need to know someone there. Well, you would be surprised how willing people are to just being able to help, but there has to be some sort of exchange of value, right? I look at networking as an opportunity to exchange value. And this has actually helped. I've used this before where, I love personal development, and I wanted to, and on my list, I wanted to meet Jay Shetty, who's he's a big name in the personal development world. And, I thought I wanted to use something that I had, something of my skills, and give him something of value. And so I created this little product audit, which I recommend you guys do. Not just, you could do it for people, you could do it for the companies, but just find a way that you can give someone some kind of value. And this product audit, I did it out of the kindness of my heart to say, Jay, I really appreciate what you're doing. I'm in product management. I obviously, you have your website. I found a couple areas of opportunity, and I just wanted to bring them to your attention. And also, here is how I would solve them, right? If you want, I could talk to your tech team, because he's not going to know any of that stuff, right? But I told them, like, I'd be willing to help, right? And this form of kindness and reaching out and adding value is a way that you can connect with people. right? It's a way to give something and also showcase, if let's say you're trying to do this in the tech world, or you're trying to connect with people, right? Maybe go look at, if you know that that person works on, let's say, a product like a Hulu or any product really, do a product audit. Do, you know, come at them with from a place of service that you want to help them, and this is a way to, in a way, like, you know, showcase your skills, right? So I run these websites and these apps through just simple links, but it's the thought and also the, you know, the attention and the awareness that you're putting onto it that they are going to look at, right? And so, like, for example, I think I saw that there he had a couple broken links. Yeah, bringing to the attention that, you know, his site had like 13 broken links was just a way, again, to say, hey, you know, here's where they are, and, you know, go, you know, you can go fix them, right? It's an easy fix. But again, it's just giving yourself or putting value into the networking opportunities, right? So that's one of the ways to just, again, connect with people, get in the door. And then once you've gotten in the door, it goes back to your story, right? How do you relate to people? How do you communicate to people? And really making the effort to develop this attractive personality, right? And also being able to showcase your enthusiasm for the company or for what they're doing, right? People want to hire people who also on the same wavelength as them, right? They want to, in terms of the company and the values and the culture. And when you can focus all that energy that you have towards it, you're going to find that you're going to click with that person, and they're going to want you to be on the team, right? They're going to want you to join, right? So yeah, so that's just, you know, again, uh, getting in the door and interviews. One last thing I forgot to mention is just resumes. This is something that, you know, I always just share as well, as uh, with resumes. I mean, yes, you have to submit a resume. It's just kind of part of the practice. And, you know, if you don't have the right words, unfortunately, that match the job description, you're just never gonna, you know, even if you have a great connection point, people want to know that you will potentially fit the actual job that they need, right? And, you know, I'm not always a big fan. I mean, yes, resumes, you have to have it, right? It's, at least now, it's probably going to change soon, but in order to really work the system in a way, I always like to use tools to check and see how well does my resume compare to the job description in terms of the words, in terms of the actual skills, right? And this is a tool called JobScan. You can use it. It helps you to kind of see those comparison between the job description and the resume to give you a score. And based off that score, you can kind of say, oh, you know, this job description is actually using, you know, I don't know, per product management a lot, and you only have it one place. So you're probably saying like, well, how do I, you know, I don't want to lie. And here's what you have to do, right? When, let's say they need a skill like Google Analytics, and that's a, you know, it's one of those things that you want to showcase that you have as well. If it's something on the resume, on the job description, and you don't have that skill, I suggest to people, you know, go learn the skill, go find a project or try to implement a project that you use that skill, and then put it on your resume, right? Because it is important that you are making the actual conscious effort to learn and to advance. And if it's on the job description, it's on there for a reason, right? So go out and learn, you know, some of those key things, right? So that's the interview and the resume. What's one other thing I want to showcase? You know, I mean, there's a lot of great books for interviewing and practicing. You know, I do interview or mock interviews with people just to help give feedback. And because I mean, I interviewed at, well, when I was at Disney, I interviewed a bunch of people for product management roles. I'm currently at InStride. I'm doing the same thing. You know, we hire people, I'm interviewing people. So there's usually a couple standard practice problems that I like to recommend people try. And I mean, the book Decoding Conquer is a great book for that. If you haven't read it, you can get it here. I'll send you guys all the links after, by the way. But it's a great book. I recommend it. It's got a lot of good practice problems. And then just being able to, in my opinion, the best type of practice is literally being able to work on these little projects, right? Work on projects where you are essentially coming up with an idea or identifying the problem, identifying the people, and basically going through the product development cycle, right? I have this, and I'll share this as well. I believe that people who just get more practice and experience going through the process of like just launching products, you become better, right, as a product manager. That's how you develop your talents as a PM. The more products and features you launch is how you build up your expertise. And so here's like a diagram, a simple diagram of like the various steps into launching, right? Various teams, various steps. But when you take a look at it, right, and you go deeper, there's a lot that goes into it, right? And if and I'm not able to show it really well, but there's a lot that goes into the process and the creation of product development. And it can seem a little daunting, but if you're taking in small steps and you're able to, and actually nowadays, there's a lot of apps out there that help you, do this part, right? Like the engineering part. I mean, at least to start off, you could actually, with prototyping, there's a lot of no code types of applications that you can just plug your, let's say, Google spreadsheet of data, and you could have an app, right? One of those is like, I think, Bubble. It's a great way for anyone who's like, again, trying to come up with a way to build a product on your own as a PM. I think I recommend you at least try to build one of your own, and you can use Bubble as a resource, as a template to build a product and actually launch it, right? That's the thing I wanted you guys to get experience with, is being able to go from the strategy and the users and the problem all the way through to like a prototype, and then launching it, getting feedback, and then doing it all over again, right? Just keep doing that over and over and over. You'll develop a lot of good practice that way. Okay, cool. So I'm going to jump to the next piece, which is the jump start. And this is, for you, Andres, this will be helpful. So anytime I start in product management, so I've been, when I left Lightmaker, which is the digital agency that I first joined as a product manager, I was there for a year. And, even there, when I started, I always try to set myself up with a 30, 60, 90-day plan of what I'm going to go out and achieve, right? And this, again, kind of aligns with like the idea of goals and just having a little bit of a plan for yourself. And when I start these plans, I always try to think about and focus on the 4 P's for me, right? People, priorities, product, and process. And when I break it down that way, you start to see how it's important to focus on these things, because if you don't focus on them, you become less aware. And I think it's always very important just to become aware of these things. Right? Okay. So first thing, in a way, this is a little outdated. I got to update this. But let's start with people, right? When you learn the people, that means learn the team, who's there, right? Learn everyone's roles, learn everyone's, responsibilities. What are the gaps that people need, right? What are the weaknesses, the strengths? This could be an exercise where you also, if you don't know the personalities, get to know the personalities. Maybe send some of the personality assessments just so that they can you can understand who they are as well, and then you give them yours. So that way, again, you know who they are. But knowing the team is important. Knowing the customers in the market is important. So, one of the things I actually recommended to one of my one of my mentees was that, for people who are trying to get in, I actually recommend, one of the great ways to get into a job or something related to product management is to take the time to even maybe, do some user surveys with actual users for that company you're trying to work for. So if you've done some of this already, then great. But if you haven't, go try to review surveys or go get some actual, data from your customers, right? Understand what is it that their problems are, find out more about them, right? Understand the people. And then find out like who the partners are, right? Again, just all about people, right? People's important. Then understand and learn the product, right? So if you've done the product audit, then you pretty much know it, you know it pretty well. If you haven't, then going in and being able to just understand, understand the technology stack, what's powering it, try to get as much data as you can about the product, right? Analytics, or even just anything in general, just try to get as much as you can. And then also start trying to map out a product roadmap. One of the things I recommend for technology stack, understanding the technology stack, is built with. So I have a lot of Chrome extensions, as you can see here. I'm kind of curious. So if I go to Hulu, and this should be accessible to many people. I'll send you guys my Chrome extension list if you want it. But one of the ones that I love to use, and this just comes like a second nature to me now, because I'm just very curious, is one of the Chrome extensions is this one is called Wappleizer, but it tells you what is powering that site, or what is it using. So you get an understanding of like how it's built, what tools they're using, and so that you can actually maybe learn a little bit more. Let's say it says New Relic here, and you don't know anything about New Relic, so maybe go learn some New Relic, right? There's a lot of information now anywhere really on all of this stuff, right? And actually clicking on this will take you to the site, or the kind of a list of all the other sites who use this type of thing, right? So you can see here, Twitter is using React, obviously, and GitHub, and all these other people. So it kind of takes you down this rabbit hole of understanding and learning, how your product that you're working on is similar to other products in terms of technology stack, in terms of all these other things, right? So I always I recommend being very, very curious. Another thing that I recommend strongly is to go through the practice of understanding the jobs to be done. And you're probably wondering, like, if you've never heard jobs to be done, what is it? How do you even, what it's a theory? So jobs to be done is this concept, this idea that, people are essentially hiring your product to do a job, right? People don't want a 1/4 inch drill. They want a 1/4 inch hole, right? And so effectively that drill is it's serving the job of getting that hole. And so that's the same way we have to apply. We think about how we have to think about product management, right? Our products are meant to just they're being hired to do a job. And it doesn't matter who you are. You can be, a 60-year-old woman or a 20-year-old male, right? It doesn't, like, at the end of the day, people want to do a certain job. And the products that are able to serve and understand those needs and those job steps, and are able to address those needs really well in terms of being able to know how to improve the accuracy and the speed of getting that job done better than the competitors in the market, are the ones who are going to succeed, right? So Thrive is a company that we worked with at Disney and at where I'm at right now, and they have really great content related to jobs to be done. They actually have, if you sign up for free, they have their video, which is like a little course on all the jobs to be done, ideas. And I recommend it. I absolutely love the way that they approach it. And the fact that you look at this, you're like, how would you beat Apple and Google? And you're like, well, that's impossible. You can't. No one can beat them. But no, you can. You can, when you understand that, again, products are just there to get a job done faster and more accurate than your competitors. And if you're able to identify all of the job steps, right, in achieving a specific job, and you're identifying a specific piece in that and what you want to go after, and that's where you focus your energy, and that's where you focus your prioritization, your roadmap, and you're able to do that, then you will see success, right? So like, again, check it out. When you create an account, you can go here, go to the course. It's available for you for 30 days for free. So you can binge all of this if you want. Each video is about like 10 minutes, I think, but it goes into every single one of these very, very well. I highly recommend it. And it's just a great way to get yourself in the right mindset, because I think with product management, especially when you're starting off, you really want to establish really good foundations and fundamentals, right? Because with product management, you're gonna be tasked to start developing, and this is the part that costs the most. and they're gonna believe you that you've set the vision, you set the strategy, and they're gonna say you've done your work to validate that this is gonna be worth it. And if you realize that during development that it actually is not, then it's going to cost money, it's going to cost your reputation, it's going to cost a lot of things. But you can avoid that by spending this upfront time in understanding the strategy, and understanding the people, and the people who are going to use it, and their needs really, really well. So that way, this is always successful, right? It's just, this part is just getting execution, and launching is just getting people to see it and use it, right? So that's just, yeah, jumpstart. Cool. I'm gonna move a little bit faster. I want to leave at least 30 minutes for questions, and this will be, I think, pretty fast for these last two. So I like to have this just as for those who are once they're in the company and wanting to leave an impact. This, I think, again, look, it's good to know where you want to aspire to be, right? So if you have done your life goals assessment, and you're like, you know what, I definitely just want to be a VP, or eventually a CEO of an existing company, right? That's where your dream is, and that's where you want to be, then perfect, right? But make sure that you are always thinking about that, and thinking about how are you going to leave an impact, right, in that place where you are. And for me, I talk about alignment and company vision and strategies, and just knowing goals specifically for the company, right? Because when you're at a company and you're able to show results, that's how you get to the next level, right? I was fortunate enough to be at Disney as an individual contributor, right? I started off my product management career as just a product. Actually started off pretty much the lowest level, doing a little bit of work in J&J as kind of like a product manager. I gave myself the title associate product manager, right? And then jumped into being a product manager, then became a senior product manager, then eventually led a team. So I was kind of a manager of product management. And I've actually had the opportunity to be a director. At Disney, I had the opportunity to be a director. It was literally handed to me, and I turned it down, because for me, I actually wanted to leave Disney and be in a startup, and be in education, where I'm at right now in the ed tech world, because of the fact that it aligned more with my values, and I wanted to make an impact there, right? But again, it was, for me, being able to know and being able to have clarity, where I was still able to leave an impact at Disney, and that came with just showing constantly results. And this is one of my little templates that I use always when I'm kind of coming up with my plan, my strategy, is what are the results that I want to show people, that once we launch this thing, this is what matters, and this is what everyone's in alignment with. right? It's a simple little template. But ultimately, it's just a way to see the business objective, the top level, why does your company exist, the strategy, the goals, and then the KPIs, as well as the targets. Because it's super important to know what are the targets that your company is looking to achieve, and then what are you trying to achieve for your team or for success. So that is that. And then the last thing I want to share is owning your path. For some of you, if being an entrepreneur is something that you want to, do or aspire to be, and I think actually everyone is an entrepreneur, especially if you're going to be a product manager, you develop entrepreneurial skills and mindsets because of the fact that you are, in a way, you're creating something out of nothing. You are connecting with all these various people. You are actually more primed and ready to be a founder than many others because of that experience. And for me, I can say I'm fortunate enough to say that, being in product management, I've been able to start and succeed with 3 companies now. On the side, they're smaller, right? And I'm looking to actually kind of make that pivot towards doing that more full time. But I've been able to succeed, right? More is like they started off as little experiments, really, just to see, like, could I do this on the side? And now have become something that has generated profit, right? And is another source of income for me. But all of this is to say that, the fact that you are product managers or want to be product managers, you are actually, I think, in my mind, probably the best to make an impact and found companies, or even start something of your own. And if that's something you want to do, I highly recommend it. It's super, super thrilling and exciting, because you are, in essence, right, you're owning the path that you want to take. And this, when you're an entrepreneur, when you're founding company, or you're doing stuff, it's all about, again, I believe that, we as people really should invest in 2 main things. It's our mental capital and our social capital, right? Social capital is really, your network. Who do you know, right? Do you know, a bunch of, VPs, CEOs, executives, right? Or do you know only, some people that are at your level, right? I think we need to have a combination of different types of groups of people in our network, right? I always refer to 3 groups. Your seekers. It's really good to always have people that are seeking information, and they're looking to you as like kind of an expert, right? Having some people there, because it also helps you to reinforce what you know. You become more of a, in a way, kind of like a mentor or a teacher, right, to these younger people. So have those group of people. Have a group of people that you are always constantly, I call them achievers, right? That you're constantly one-upping each other, right? And it's a healthy competition type of relationship, right? Having those group of people, and then having masters. And these are the people that have seen they've developed success, and they're just literally there as role models for you to reverse engineer or even connect with, to find out how they did it, and finding out, and connecting with more of their circle of friends, right? Having your network so strong like that in those different areas will make you more of a fulfilled person. And it'll also make you more, you'll have that capital that you can go anywhere, really, because you have these people that you can potentially connect with and leverage in your network. And then the last thing is, right here, is serving, because this is the fundamental piece that, even if you're in a product management role right now or an entrepreneur, I always find that it's, at the end of the day, the reason why you're doing it is to serve people, right? It is to give people value more than others, right? It's trying to give as much value as possible. And that's kind of why I'm doing this too, right? I am trying to give you guys value, because I know that, this is going to help. And potentially, if you guys want to work with me, or if you want more mentorship, you'll keep coming back. And that's what I want. I want to help you guys more, and wherever you are, right? Whether you are, obviously I know a little bit more about you guys, but depending on even after you grow, right? When you guys get into the next role or the next thing, I want to be there to be able to help you and be able to serve you guys, right? So those are the main things I wanted to talk about. And, you know, again, I want this to be open and you know, the dialogue. So I'll open it up for questions if you have any, and I'd really appreciate the feedback as well. So any questions, I'm gonna stop sharing. No?
Hey, Rich.
There we go. Okay.
You did an awesome job, honestly. Like
Thank you.
you nailed down every point, probably more points than I thought of. So I've just been jotting down a lot of notes.
Nice.
But back to your owning your path, like you mentioned, really good point about connecting with a wide range of people
Yeah.
and really maximizing those resources they may have. But what are some other specific resources? And I know you touched upon like building projects and owning that part of that project.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other resources and ways to really build and hone down those entrepreneur skills with a tech background?
I think that, you know, entrepreneurs are just those people who can see a problem and identify an opportunity, right? And, you know, you could be an entrepreneur in tech, an entrepreneur in sports, and anything really, right? An entrepreneur is ultimately, how are you able to look at what exists today? Like, let's say, for example, COVID-19. This is, I mean, a frenzy of opportunities, really, right? Where I think a lot of entrepreneurs, if you know, like I love listening to Mark Cuban, right? Mark Cuban, obviously a successful entrepreneur, a successful business person, and he's just looking at this. It's like, this is a way for us to disrupt and to innovate and to just create a new 2.0 version of like the world, right? And that's how entrepreneurs think. And so being able to develop that mindset of, you know, again, being so engrossed in, or just being so ingrained in the problem and believing that you can address it with an opportunity is one way of just developing a mindset. I think mindset is, again, I go back to it, is so important because people are going to tell you you're crazy. People are going to tell you you can't do it. People are going to tell you all of these things. And if you don't develop that hardened mindset, that belief that you can do it or that your vision is true, then you know it's going to be really hard. It's going to be tough. So mindset is super important. And then, you know, I honestly, I want to say that the best way to do any type of entrepreneurial venture is literally just to, you know, get started, right? I mean, I got started at I mean, just doing little things. It doesn't have to be tech really, but just being able to exchange value. So like, I remember when I was younger, my first real entrepreneurial venture was, we had an empanada sale. So I played soccer, and you know, we were trying to raise money, and I used, you know, my resources. I was like, oh, my mom's really good at making empanadas, and maybe I can, like, you know, work with her. We can sell empanadas, right? We sold them, and being able to you know, create value was, you know, enjoyment for the other people who wanted food, and we got, you know, some money in return, right? You know, practice that ability to identify a need and identify a price point and try selling something. And that will help you to develop that skill set of people, because people are willing to exchange, in my belief, people are willing to exchange money if there's enough value on the other side. That's what money is for, right? Money is an exchange of value. And if you can match or, you know, exceed the value that they're going to get for that dollar or for that whatever that money is, they will then gladly give it to you, right? So it was a little rant, but hopefully that answered the
No,
question.
that was great. That answered. Thank you.
Perfect. So Andres, did I help you at all?
Hold on, I was muted. Yeah, it was definitely a very good chat. I enjoyed how you um, talked about your entire career and how you went through to get to where you are today. I do have I have a lot of questions, but I'll try to summarize it
We
into
can
kind of
go.
a general one.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess my overall question is the the you presented a very linear path.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all know that getting to where you were was not necessarily as linear as it seems to us.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you talk a little bit more about the struggles you went through? Because you have all this knowledge now where you can throw a whole bunch of tools at us, a whole bunch of information, a whole bunch of mental maps and documents that you've created, but
Mm-hmm.
I know that you didn't have that at the beginning.
I
So
did it.
how
Yeah.
did you get to where you are today, and how long did it take you to get there?
Yeah. Well, I want to say that yes, I did not have all of these outlined like so linear now, right? I think with every single experience I've developed something new that I liked and I kept and I've been using over and over, right? Um, for me, if you want to talk a little bit about the struggle, I mean, the biggest struggle was just the whole learning curve, right? Like getting to a point where I gained enough confidence and the ability to just learn that I could do the job was a huge struggle, right? Like when I first got into product management, again, I didn't build lots of products. Like I didn't launch a lot of products, right? I just worked on these little projects with people, but I never went from an actual like, start of an idea to actually launching, right? I think I had one, not two. I had two. So I could talk about those two really well, right? But I never really experienced, A/B testing or the ability to do what's it called? Doing usability studies, right? Early on, like all of these things, I eventually learned, right? But I learned, but the thing is, I don't want it to be a struggle for you guys. That's the point, right? And that's why I'm trying to like organize it in a way so that it doesn't become a struggle. I think what I want with the struggle I want you guys to go through is really the struggle of just of really, I mean, this is crazy to say, but being able to manage too many products or launches, right? Like I want you guys to struggle with just launching so many things because you have to like keep up with the demand or keep up with like these people, right? That's the struggle that I want you guys to experience, because that's where you really grow, and you innovate. At the end of the day, I feel like product managers are those who really can spark the innovation, right? Because they're able to pull and connect with different people, and you have that opportunity to do that now, right? um, but I mean, yeah, initially I didn't, I learned a lot from YouTube, to be honest, right? I would watch a ton of videos on, on other, uh, really actually on other products out there. I learned from just looking at other products, experimenting, being really curious, right? I learned a lot from case studies. There's a bunch of case studies of like, how did, you know, Airbnb become Airbnb, right? Like, what did they do, right? I mean, Facebook, how did Facebook become Facebook? Going into the history of it. I learned from that, and that was really inspiring because that also again builds up that confidence that say like, okay, this is how they did it, it's possible, I can do it too. Yeah. Cool.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. What about you, Rob? Anything? Did I scare you?
No, no. So I was just wondering, so when you started getting into more of the mid to senior level roles of product manager, how would you weight the leadership manager facilitating skills versus the more technical aspects of the job?
Yeah, once you're in leadership, you're, in my opinion, it's more about making sure your team succeeds, right? So it is definitely, in my mind, a people management. It's a um, priority management. It's a vision man. It's you're literally articulating the vision and the priorities, and but you're also making sure that your employees or your team is ready to succeed. They have all the skills. They have everything that they need to do it, right? Um, I in one of my recent articles I did with Product School, I talked about how when I was an individual contributor, I loved that I was so close to the user, the actual end product user, right? Because that's where you are. You're next to, you're next to. You're with the developers, you're with the designers, you're close to the ground, right? And you're talking to a lot of people. Um, as a senior manager, you're less associated to that, right? You obviously, again, your responsibility is your team and ensuring that they have everything, that they're unblocked, right? Let's say there's like another team who's for whatever reason blocking them because they need funds. You play the role more of like I need to allocate the funds, I need to get the people what they need, right? And kind of help with that, which is still another really great skill to have, especially again if you're going to be in product management or if you're going to be a founder, right? Like funds is what you need to run your company, and being able to know how to get it, being able to look at your team, give them the influence and also the motivation to keep going is really impactful, you know. Yeah, like one of the things that I did is because we worked at Disney, so it was really easy in my mind, because everyone, for the most part, they love the Disney brand, but they also loved what Walt Disney himself. We kind of look at Walt as like, yeah, he's the father, right? And I love, whenever I was presenting, I always like to share these little Walt quotes, or I like to share, these testimonies of people, or moments in the movies or something. I try to associate something to inspire people again, right? To kind of reignite that fire for why they're doing what they're doing. I think that's really what it comes down to for senior management. Cool. And I saw Brad join. Hey, Brad.
Hey, Rich. I just wanted to say you did a really good job in the part that I did see. I apologize for joining in
Oh,
late.
no worries.
Um,
Hey, man.
but I do have a few questions.
Let's go.
So one of them is related to, because I've been starting to kind of do my own side projects and just kind of learn some product skills that way, because I'm also coming from like an IT background.
Yep.
And one of the things I kind of ran into was, after developing a few different projects, like getting users to test was kind of a hard issue for me, because I didn't really want to keep going to friends and family who were kind of they're getting more annoyed than although they're willing to help, they're getting kind of more annoyed that way. But did you have any recommendations for getting a network of user testers?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things, right? If you know who your target audience is, right, being able to identify where they are, the communities that they're in, and kind of reaching out that way. Again, it all comes back to how you communicate, right? And I think this is the key. People can generate an audience or a group or a beta group in many, many ways. And I think one of the ways that it never really works too well is by just going straight and saying, hey, fill out this thing, just do this for me, right? They never get anything in return, right? Like, so how do you communicate to them? Number one, like, what are they going to get as a benefit as well, right? So finding out where these groups are, let's say there's Slack channels, there's, Facebook groups, there's all these, I mean, social now is just like, there's tons of groups and places where you can connect with people, right? So trying to find the group of people first. And then again, trying to find some sort of value exchange that you can potentially do, so that way they are willing to help you, right? Maybe it's such a, what you're trying to solve for is going to help them, right? And you sell that, right? That's going to help them. They're going to be the ones to shape the product, right? And so their feedback would be really appreciated, and just kind of have them do it that way. I mean, another way I've seen it as well is people will create the front facing version of the product with just like a private beta, like sign up or waitlist group. And you kind of like create the vision, right? You don't actually show them the product, but you show like a video or something, kind of like walk them through what it would be. And then you'd say like, join the private beta if you want this. And so like, how do you get that out there? Well, there's actually a couple of resources. You can get yourself on Product Hunt, actually. And if you get yourself on Product Hunt, that's good. That's really good, right? Because then you just instantly get a ton of traffic to the site. Just getting yourself out there is another way. A third way is really like, there's services that I'm going to show you right now. There's services that you can pay, right? I think you can do a trial. Yeah, this one's, and you just get people to user test, right? Like, I think you actually, we use this at Disney and also where I'm at right now. But you set up your experience on there, and then you kind of you create these little scripts that you have the user actually run or say through, and then they actually interact with it, and then they give you feedback. Right, so usertesting.com is a really good one. I think there's one more. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it is very good to get user feedback. Get that testing early and often.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sweet.
As a follow-up question to that, how do you know what's a good number of users to use that feedback and iterate on the prototype?
Yeah, okay. So iterating on the prototype, I don't know if I have a number per se. I mean, I try to get more than 10 for sure, at least 10, just so that I can get different perspectives. I believe that it's really in the type of what you're trying to get out of it, right? What's the objective, right? And if the objective is purely, is it solving the problem, right? That's more qualitative, then it can be fine because you have to synthesize it. But let's say you just want to know how people are clicking on interacting, and maybe getting a lot more can help you to see that as more normalize your data, right? Because only a few data points is not going to give you a lot of clarity. And with A/B testing specifically, you do need a specific number in order to be statistically significant, right? Because that's more of like A/B testing is more, there's actually a calculation, an equation with that. But prototyping, it should give you direction. That's what I look at it. It should help you give direction. And, in a way, you can use it as an opportunity to build an audience. That's what I love to do. Is I love to create these little private beta groups that you can have, having try to strive for 100 is always a nice challenge. But the first, people always talk about the first 1,000, 2,000 users is always the hardest. But if you can if you're trying to push towards that already in the beginning, right, they become your loyal users, your loyal fans, and they again can help shape the product. So sometimes I would even try to work on just building an audience first, right? Finding the need, finding those people, build the audience, and then kind of, throw in, they're like, oh, would you like to try this new feature out? right? And you already have the audience. So as you're growing your user base, you're growing your potential for people to try out the product or prototype, you know?
Got it. Thank you. And sorry, it's one question. So you were saying that you're juggling a lot of products and launching as many products as you can. In your day-to-day, do you usually manage a bunch of user testing while also trying to kickstart another prototype that's you want to launch? Like, how is that process like for you?
So for me, my day-to-day is a little bit of everything right now, you know, being at a startup. But when I was at Disney, it was, you know, a bigger company. It's, again, it depends on the company you're at. I will say 100%, right? The first company that I was at, the first product manager, I was at a digital agency. The first one that I'm at, I was a PM, and that was high speed, high throughput of products, right? So in my 1 year that I was there, I think I ended up launching like 10 products, like big products. Like these were like, you know, that was simultaneously launching thing, like, you know, like maybe one here, and you know, that was crazy. But I think that, again, that was in the client services world, so we were always like delivering something. At Disney, it's a little bit more, it's a big company, right? A lot more people are doing separate things. So, you know, we had a team that was dedicated solely to user testing. We had a team dedicated solely to, you know, research and development. And so as a product manager, I was able to float a little bit more, right? My responsibility as a PM was more, you know, executing and doing the user stories and managing the developers, managing the designers, and making sure that the vision that we had got done, right? Using all these data to help that. And then as a manager, same thing. It just, you know, I was just responsible for more things. At Industry, where I'm at right now, because we're a startup, as an ed tech startup, but it's privately, or it's what is it called? A private. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking right now. Privately funded, yes, privately funded. You know, we have a runway, we have resources, right? That's really what it comes down to. If you don't have funds, then you end up doing a lot more, right? But when you do have funds, you can, you know, manage between different stakeholders, different teams. And really what I say is the best advice is, yes, product management, you do tend to follow that process I showed with you, where you're doing, you know, your strategy, or your jobs to be done, understanding that. Then you're coming up with your strategy. Then you're kind of pitching it, ensuring that the funds that you have for the year are going to be used for that thing that you want. You prototype, right? Because you want to prove to people that this is going to work. And then once you've gotten the proof, then you go out and do it. But when I'm running a test, or when I'm doing user testing, I might already be running, we have a feature already. And that's where I'm faced right now, is that we have literally like 2 parallel tracks, sometimes even 3 parallel tracks of like, okay, we got to build our core features. But we also have these new ideas we want to, you know, go execute or go prove out. So we're running kind of in parallel. But again, that comes with just where you want to go, where you want to be.
Got it. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Well, if there's nothing else, I'm going to just end with one last thing, and that is, you know, like I said in the beginning, I'm here as a resource, and I want to continue to mentor you guys. You know, I'm going to try to do these sessions every so often. If you guys want to come back and you know, keep listening, feel free to. I'm going to send another invite, but ultimately, you know, I want to know that this was valuable. And it'd be great to hear your feedback as well. You know, a quick little, I'll send something with you guys, and you can just give me some feedback as to whether this was helpful, what other questions you may have. And because ultimately, you know, I do have a mentorship program, and I have actual people in it. Like I have 15 people right now who I'm mentoring on a weekly basis. And it is a paid thing. I was looking at the mentorship market, and it was really, I was very interested to hear or find out that that this space is pretty much growing for the different verticals or functions, I should say. But there wasn't one specifically for product managers, so I'm trying to create that as a new market, really. And if you guys are interested, again, I can send you guys information about that. But it's kind of like a monthly subscription where, every week we meet. I give myself up for an hour and a half where I can just answer questions every day. I also have we have a Slack group, so we share things that I have come across. It's another place for you guys to DM or direct message me if you have anything that you're learning as you're going, and really just that group is more of accountability, right? You have these goals, you have these big aspirations. How do you make sure you get them done? Well, you have this group of other people who are also vested in their growth and the development, where you can do that. And that's what I'm offering, right? Is that kind of that I'm trying to fill that need of people who, depending on where you are, if you are starting off or you are already in, every single one of those like positions that you're in has a different set of questions and answers. And that's where I want to be. I just want to be that help. So if you're interested, let me know. I'll send you more information. But other than that, I appreciate you guys sticking around and sharing some of your feedback with me already.
Thank you so much, Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Rich.
Talk to you guys later.
All right.